This is the Black Nerd Talks podcast. This is your main host, Eb. I'd like to tell you a little bit about me before we start. I'm a social worker and men's rights advocate with an extensive history in competitive esports such as Guilty Gear, Gundam vs. and Street Fighter. I hope that today's episode will provide you with some nerd self-help through deep conversational interviews and open discussions where you hear the stories and perspectives of our fellow nerds. Join us as we uncover the themes and messages found in the mediums of anime, video games, and as well as comic books, and how we can apply the life lessons found in them to deal with our everyday struggles. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Discord, all under the same name and logo of Black Nerd Talks. Follow us to let us know what you think of the latest episodes. We'd love to hear your feedback. Following us will also allow you to keep up with when we drop the latest and newest episodes. We also have an Etsy shop where if you search Black Nerd Talks, you can find our Black Nerd Talks t-shirts and crewnecks if you'd like to support the podcast.
All right. Sorry for the break, guys. We had to do some planning. There's a lot of episodes we have getting ready to come out. So we have this one coming out just before we hit, just as actually by the time we release it, it's going to just be, the holidays will be starting because we're starting just before the holidays. So it's me, Eb, back. I'm here with my co-host. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves again.
Jordan, let's go.
Debo,
Yep.
the original.
Baba Dibble. That's what we had to do. I don't know why you keep calling yourself that. Baba Dibble. But yeah, so we're going to be actually talking, we're going to shift to things we usually talk about, I would say battle shonen, but now we're actually talking about something a little bit different. Jordan, it won like the anime of the year, right?
Yeah, I think it's been voted as the
the best
anime.
IGN post something like about it. But yeah, we're going to be talking about Frieren. What's it called? Yeah, Frieren to Journey's End. But before we start this episode, I know he's listening to this by the time it's released. I'm personally dedicating this episode to someone who I see as a sister to me. You guys both know her, both Debo and Jordan. You guys know who I'm talking about. She's a sister to me. I don't even consider her best friend. So this one's dedicated to you, Affrica. Oni, I know you're listening, so make sure that you tell her to listen in on this one, because I wouldn't know how to celebrate life if it wasn't for her teaching me to do that. And I think that's something that us young men definitely, not even young men in general, we struggle with the idea of celebrating ourselves, especially when we haven't done the quote unquote thing in the quote unquote hero's journey, if you will. So Frieren to Journey, I got the name wrong, Beyond Journey's End. Let's call it what it is. It's the antithesis. It goes against everything with the hero's journey, because the hero's journey ends after the hero's journey, right? We look at Luke Skywalker, My Hero Academia, and Naruto. Once they do the thing, whatever the quote unquote thing is, a big thing, the conquering evil, accomplishing this Herculean great task, that's when you save the world, Lelouch, bringing world peace, whatever it is. That's when the series ends, right? The credits roll, it's done. He's done the thing. Maybe he's gotten married, depending on the show, assuming he's alive. And then the credits roll. This show starts off, and I'd ask you, I want to hear you guys' thoughts about just the idea of it first. The show starts off with, they already accomplished a great deal. Like the hero's journey has already happened by the time the show starts. It's not even just happen or even part way. It literally starts, we don't even see the Demon Lord. We only hear the Demon Lord's name in passing. They've already accomplished a great thing. The show starts off with a celebration. Usually that's when the credits come, but that's when literally the show starts. So I don't know what you guys thought of that. I thought that was very weird personally, but I want to hear you guys' thoughts before I give my piece.
Yeah, no, I thought that in the beginning, I thought it was also weird because most anime shows, they always have this concept of a hero journey and slaying the dragon. And then this show, you have a situation where, well, they've done that. And now what next? But part of the reason why I like the structure, and let me tell you why, because now you get to focus on truly what's important as an individual. People think that if you create this business, or if you get that house, or if you get that car, then that's it to life. But there's actually more to life that's beyond that car, that's beyond that house, and that you can actually learn about yourself even more, of course, as life goes on. And one of the thing about the show that does a really great job at highlighting is
Mhm.
concepts of morality and time, relationship, regrets,
Morality and time.
growth and healing. It was through Himmel that Frieren, is that how you say her
Yeah,
name?
Frieren.
Farron
Well,
was
they come up with
able
some weird name for
to
isekai shows. Sorry, go on.
it, it was through it was the idea of regret was first introduced truly from
Hmm.
the viewer perspective. Like, we were able to witness that through the passing of Himmel. Is that his name? Himmel?
They say Himmel.
Himmel.
Yeah.
Okay. It was through Himmel. But what many people don't understand is Frieren's been alive for over 1,000 years, give and take.
Yep.
And she has yet to feel regret from the viewer perspective. And I think it's very hard to demonstrate regret when you're in, for example, that hero's journey. Unless you probably lose a friend,
Mm,
your co-partner or something, to a
yeah.
dragon slaying or whatever.
Hmm.
But when you're in that grind, when you're in that moment, it's hard to really be in tune to your emotion. You know what I mean?
You're going through it. You're like in the process of doing something and or accomplishing something. Yeah, I hear you.
Exactly. So this the writer was able to bypass all of that and say, okay, let's really focus on the character. Let's look at all the internal process that those characters went through. And they made it extremely relatable, because I think that many people sometimes feel as though they have all the time in the world. But the
Mm,
minute they lose someone, they say, okay, make sure you're there for your friend. You're on social media all the time. You
start
see a big
your
celebrity that probably
problem.
just passed away, something like,
Mhm. Hopefully
yeah,
you're
you,
okay. Yeah, sorry, go on.
yeah, yeah. So you'll see a celebrity just pass away or something like that. And then everyone will say, oh, make sure you check on your friend or something like
Yep.
that. You just
Yep.
never know what tomorrow holds.
Yep.
And I think this is what the show was able to do. It was able to bring those hard, challenging discussions to the surface for us to have.
Yeah, I agree. How about you, Baba Debo?
When I first got into animes, I was all about the action. I just wanted to see guys get two pieces, swords, superpowers, all that stuff. But then I was introduced to what we call the slice of life.
Mm.
It was funny.
And I found that Frieren had a
Mhm.
lot of slice of life elements to it.
Yeah, but a lot.
Yes.
Now that you mentioned it, it was a lot.
To me, there was times where it got almost to a Vinland Saga season 2 pace, where it's like, where's the action at?
I was just going to use that example. That's
I
a
was
good
good.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
But when the action did come, Jesus Christ,
Yo, Stark was him.
Jesus Christ, when the action came, it was worth the wait.
Yep. Sorry, I just want to also say a point on the action piece. The thing I also appreciate about the show is that we don't, in terms of anime, yeah, even when I'm thinking about like the Marvel and DC movies, we don't really see a focus on magical fights. If anything, it's like one magical person. If we are seeing the magical person, the sorcerer mage is usually like back support. And maybe if they are fighting someone, it's someone who's like a physical fighter, right? We rarely see two magical mage-like characters fight each other. I thought that was a really cool concept. You don't really see two spellcasters fighting each other typically in these spaces, in these medias. But yeah, you were saying, Debo?
The mix, the contrast between the slice of life elements and the action especially for a guy who like myself, who's mostly wants to see the action.
Yo,
I was surprised that Frieren was able to like keep me captivated throughout.
mm.
Because like when it came to like Vinland Saga 2, like almost every episode I was ready to give up on it.
I feel that. I
But
feel that.
Frieren kept me going. Like it was very captivating. The backstories on the characters, like finding like what motivates them and whatnot, was very interesting developments. So all in all, it was a very enjoyable show.
Yeah, same. It took me a while to get into it because I just like, what do you mean we're gonna? So when the show started, I didn't realize it was really about time because the way Frieren would casually talk about time, I thought it just threw me off. So like when you see at the beginning of the show, she's like, "Oh, I'll see you guys like 50 years from now." I thought she said 15. So like when I see this old dude who has Himo's eyes and beauty mark, I'm like, what? And then I'm like, oh shoot, she said 50. For her, 50 years is 2 months. So of course Himmel is gonna look like an old man now, right? I think he's like 20 something by the time they defeat the demon lord. So 50 years from then, he's gonna be like what 70? Yeah, he'd be bald with and he'd be shriveled up like a raisin. So that actually threw me for a loop in terms of the show, but I really enjoyed that. And I liked how, like I said, so I feel like for a lot of us men, we romanticize the heroes and make it ideal thing of thinking like that's how our life will be. We'll slay the figurative dragon, whether it's like getting that job, getting that income. Even for me, remember we've talked about like, me wanted to double my income in 2 years, which is great, but there's things that happen after that, and that's what we don't really talk about in terms of life. I feel like men romanticize a hero's journey where you just kind of think about once I slay the dragon, or once I get the car, or once I get the house, or I get the job, or I graduate from the program, or get accepted in the program, then the credits roll. And until I do all these things, that's the credits won't roll. And until I do, I can't really celebrate. And I found that really interesting. And it makes me think even for women too, I feel like women romanticize the wedding, right? But they don't realize that the wedding is only, if anything, if you have decided to have a wedding, it's only the beginning. The marriage takes place after credits. Because even if you watch romance movies and whatnot, especially the coming of age ones, right? It ends at the wedding. You don't see the characters married. It ends at the wedding, and then the credits roll. You've done. And I really like how Frieren really explores the idea of life actually goes on after this. You have to, doesn't end. And I think that's an important conversation to have. Yeah, where was it? I'm trying to find. Oh, there it is. There's even, I think, a great way of encapsulating that idea of life goes on is what Himmel says to Frieren after they defeated Demon Lord. He was saying, and I want to hear what you guys think about the idea of the hero's journey and the credits, how like life takes place after credits. Himmel, the hero, the leader of the hero party, who was saying, Frieren, the life ahead of you will surely be much longer than we can imagine. Because for him, like technically, we did it. We did the great thing, and now the credits roll. So I wanted to hear what you guys' thoughts are on that.
I think there's something that needs to be said about the level of humility that Frieren has. Because
Mhm.
if you think about it, she's living years after basically doing one of the greatest accomplishments in her world.
Mhm.
She's like a celebrity among celebrities,
Yep.
but she does not seek the attention,
Yep.
nor does she even like boast. Like people almost, isn't that the sorcerer?
That's true. They even let her pass one of the villages once they found out she was Frieren from the Heroes Party. Like, oh shoot, my bad. You know what? We don't normally let people leave the village to go north, but you guys can't. My bad. Happens so many times in the series.
That's what I'm saying. She could be out there like
Wow.
like a full-on attention seeker,
Mm-hmm. That's
like
true.
one of those people who like win a championship and then use that championship to basically live on easy mode for the rest of their life.
Yep.
Not Frieren. She barely is known to be what she actually is.
True.
Like it's almost like a secret.
Yep. It's only if you ask her, then she'll say something. But otherwise, yeah, she keeps it very low key.
Exactly. For me, what I think about this, when you said that, what comes to mind is the idea that because she lives for long, well, is she? I don't know if the writer mentioned that she was immortal. Is she immortal by any
No,
chance?
no, just
She's not, right?
with regards to like all this like kind of Tolkien kind of media, elves always live like for like millennia.
Thousands of years. Yeah. For me, what surprised me the most is just how willing she's willing to be in terms of looking forward towards the future. Like she's what I mean by that is she still gets up and tries to do what is right by her definition. Instead of her, exactly what Debo said, instead of her just being lazy or taking part in all this clout movement, no, she's out here trying to do good, she didn't want to take, what's her name, Fern, as an
Fern, yeah.
apprentice. She didn't want to take Fern as an apprentice, but when she saw that this would mean a lot to Himmel,
Heiter.
Heiner. Yeah, Heiter.
Yeah.
This will be meaningful to Heiter taking Fern as an apprentice.
Mm-hmm.
With a little bit of resistance, she took the job.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whenever she encounters evil, she tries to confront it, but she doesn't have to.
Yeah, she could get
when she sees her apprentice or other people that are capable of doing the job, she doesn't come in and butt in and says, I'm going to take care of it for you and I'm going to save you. No, she's going to realize the potential in you and she's going to let you do your thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what I like about her. Just speaking to Debo's point, she has that level of humility in that respect. She's very much nonchalant. I guess you could say that. Yeah, she's very much nonchalant, but she's very introspective, and she thinks a lot in terms of doing what is right and what is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard. I wonder how the show is going to end. But for me, the more I just look at her character, I was just thinking that probably each episode is just going to be like a slice of life type of thing. Like one day she's probably going to be in the north, the other day she's going to be in the south, and whatever challenge that she's going to come to face with, that she's going to have to find a way to overcome that. You know what? To me, I'm still trying to figure out exactly what is the plot. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, she's going to live for so long, based on what Himmel said.
Yeah.
But what is the plot? What is it like a Naruto filler?
Because so I was talking with one of my best friends about this. I was saying how because I do all the research for all our episodes, I'm spoiled on everything. Everything we spoke about, I either know what's going on 5 years from now, or I know the ending. With Frieren, this is more like a season 1. I would say if I had to label it, it's a prologue. Does that kind of answer your question, Jordan? The fact that it's a prologue?
More or less, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, like it goes somewhere. There is a plot, and I was just like, oh, I didn't expect it to do that. I was like, okay, that's a very unique twist on how we see time. But the main theme of the show is still time.
It's funny you mentioned that because when I look at Frieren, it seems like she's remixing the hero party.
I'm glad you brought that up. I was gonna get to that.
Unknowingly.
Yep.
Not necessarily unknowingly, but it was not her intention to do.
Yep.
It's almost as if it needs to happen.
Yeah.
And the people that she recruits, not necessarily recruits, but end up joining her, are almost mirror images of her previous party.
Yeah, there will. Yeah, I was so when I was watching the show a second time, I was really thinking about how essentially, so like my favorite character in the show is Himmel. It's funny how my favorite character is the character that's not really in the show for the most part, is through his flashback, but Himmel, and the person who's carrying on Himmel's will and legacy is Frieren, because the thing that you hear throughout the whole show, everyone is carrying his will, but one person in particular is the one he's had the biggest impression on, is Frieren, the main character. And what we often hear the characters say throughout the whole series is, it's what Himmel, the hero, would have done. That's always like what everyone says. Oh, Himmel would have done that. What would Himmel have done? And so I would say, like, in terms of the recasting of the heroes party, Frieren is like the Himmel, if you will, quote unquote, who's doing the right thing. Sometimes she needs like Fern to push in the right direction. Fern is like the successor to Heiter, the priest will, and she's also Frieren's apprentice. And then Stark, with his beastly power, he's like crazy strong for no reason. I wonder if he can run on water like Isaac can, but he's basically Aizen's successor and his will going forward. So I did notice how, yeah, they're basically like reimagined in terms of who is carrying on their roles today. So I really thought that was really interesting. Yeah. Even what's it called? Fern even said, what was it? Mr. Himmel-sama trained you well, Frieren, which Frieren didn't like the idea of that, but it's true, because she really knows this is who Himmel was. This is what he stood for. She knows better than anybody what he stood for, what he was about, or what he's willing to do, or what he isn't willing to do. Yeah, I think it's a great imagining, and I think it's a really cool idea. And you know what? And I think about it now, it really goes back into the idea of just time, right? That the hero party won't last forever, but your will, your legacy, and even like, I'll see if I can find it. Oh, yeah, I have it right here. Heiter, he even said to himself when he was like convincing Fern not to jump off the ledge after she lost her family. He was saying, a long time ago, I lost an old friend, Himmel. Unlike me, he was straight as an arrow, and he never abandoned anyone who was in need. One day, I suddenly realized something. If I died without doing anything, all the courage, the strength of will, and friendship I learned from him, Himmel, even all my precious memories would vanish from this world. And that's inspired Himmel to, sorry, so many H's. That inspired Heiter to take care and adopt Fern as a surrogate daughter. And I really like that theme of just, I guess I'll get you guys input in terms of what you guys think about this. The one thing I noticed with the hero party, the original one, the one that we see at the beginning of the show before they retire and disband, is that they rarely talk about their battles. They rarely talk about their quote unquote great feats. And they seldom mention anything about the Demon Lord. Even I remember even when they're hanging out with Aizen for a little bit, do you think Aizen said about the Demon Lords that like they went through some pretty harsh times getting to his castle in the north? That was it. He's like, we just went through a lot there. He never expanded on that. He never talked about much about it. Even Frieren, throughout the whole series, she barely talks about the Demon Lord. And even Heiter, as much as they've done all these great things, they don't really talk about those things. They talk about their experiences together and how they impacted other people's lives. They're not really talking about, oh, I did this great fantastical feat. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Again, goes back to what I said before about Frieren's humility and the fact that you pointed out that the entire hero party really didn't boast about any of their feats or accomplishments. It could be traced back to their leader, Himmel.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just like that level of humility is actually pretty rare when you think about animes.
You think so?
Yeah, because when a character is OP,
Mm-hmm.
usually they let you know about it.
I'm trying to think because I was talking with my boy about One Piece, and we were talking about how like Luffy. I'm sure I know you haven't watched One Piece, and you're like you could both are slowly getting into it now. But you guys know Luffy, the main character, the one with the stretching
Yes.
powers. And we were talking about how Luffy rarely talks about his feats, his victories over evil pirates and whatnot. He mostly talks about his experience of connecting with others and how he made friends along the journey. He never really talks about, oh, I did this and I beat that guy and I did this. He's glad he's done it to help other people and liberate countries. Like he's not really like boastful about it, if you will. And I thought that was very interesting. Just the idea of just like, I guess you could say when you talk to, we were talking about before the stream how like when you talk to like very successful adjusted people specifically, they don't really talk about like their Fortune 500 company, the CEO of that or this and that. They talk about, yeah, I have a family, my wife loves me, I'm able to take care of my nephews or my nieces, or I love spending time with my sister now that we have more time to hang out with each other. And I found that's very interesting because it makes me think of the hero party where the thing that they essentially valued most was their side quests. They don't really call it side quests because it's an anime, but we're all gamers here. We all know what the side quests are, where you're just like, oh, bring this urn to this lady, and you run into a dragon, and you have to beat the dragon, and then bring the urn back to her niece, and then she rewards you with a super powered potion or a new sword. But it's essentially side quests. The main quests are just for the hero party very underwhelming. It's all about the side quests, even and also the dungeons.
Yeah, no, you said something very interesting. You said how they never really talk about what they accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it just goes without saying that the hero party accomplished a lot, but they don't have to mention. They don't have to mention. You just know,
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of reminds me that I work in finance, and I see a lot of these people that do have money and the way they behave in things, and it's just really interesting because they will speak. Of course, they don't really actually no. They don't talk about their performance. They really don't.
Mm-hmm.
What they talk about is ways, things that they do
Mm-hmm.
that can certain experience that they probably had or did that made their life easier.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they really focus on.
Right.
And then even when I look towards my professor, this guy he's pretty well off, but if I tell you the way this guy lives, you would not believe it.
Mm-hmm.
You would not think this guy has all these resources. He goes, for example, he goes to the loading dock to grab free stuff. He doesn't buy things. Most of his money is actually spent on experiences. He would travel a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember one day he said, "Hey Jordan, I needed I lost my data or whatever, and it costed X amount, and I didn't hesitate. I just bought it." And I'm like, okay, so you wouldn't buy something that costs $20 from Amazon, but you're willing to spend like $15,000 just like that to recover just a little bit of data, your personal data. And then he was like, yeah, because those data are my past experiences, like what I've been through. And that just opened all my eyes. I'm like, okay, so these guys really value experiences more than material things.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when Hyder said, "When I die, everything about me will be gone," and it's interesting because this is a character who was with the hero party. He's basically one of the greatest priests in the series, or the greatest priest in the series, and he has monuments and statues built on his name, there's myths and legends told about him, and yet that's not what matters to him. It's like, how did I leave an impact on this world? Like, how did I help somebody? Yes, we beat the demon lord. It is something, but it's not really true to helping the next person over. It's not really. There we go. I was trying to find the term. It's not really paying it forward. The demon lord, yes, one thing. It is an accomplishment, but it's not the end all be all. Going back on what we started the conversation with, it's not the end of the credits, right? The credits haven't rolled yet. Credits really is like when you pass on, when you die. But prior to that, it's just, what are you doing the next day? It's not after you beat the demon lord, now you can just retire in your shed in the forest, like how he did. But even then, he had Fern with him, right? His surrogate daughter. So I find that was just really interesting how someone who has statues built of him everywhere, because we see every time they go to different cities, there's always a statue of at least Himmel, if not the hero's party, depending on how much they impacted that city or town. And yet for Hyder, he's just like, those things don't really matter to me. I don't know if you guys had any impact on that, but I just really like the idea of statues don't mean much to me, but how I help somebody means the most. The side quest.
I think that once money does not become a factor anymore. Oh, actually, you know what? It doesn't even have to come to that point. When you have enough to where you don't have to think about the daily bread or what you're going to wear or do tomorrow, you can direct your attention into helping people. I remember when I needed a bag because I had an interview. This is years back, but I needed a very professional working bag. So I went to Ted Baker to buy a bag, just on the low end.
Right.
And there's this, I think it was a black sales associate. And he saw me, and then he saw how I really wanted a bag. And then I've asked him, I said, hey, can I have this bag here? And then, but I'll just be back. Let me just grab some money or something like that. And he's just like, no, it's fine. You know what? You can do it. And I'm like, but you're getting commission on this. And he said, I'll pay forward. And that was the first time I've ever heard that. And I know it comes from a movie, right?
Yeah, it comes from a movie. I saw it in high school.
He said that to me. And I didn't see the movie. When he said that, I didn't really know what it meant. I could just make an educated guess as to what he meant by that. But then quickly, I went home and I saw a bit of that movie, and I said, wow, okay, no, that was really nice. But he went out of his way to help me. And I think that a lot of people innately, especially men, like, they want to help.
Right.
And they can be useful in helping others. Yeah, they would help. Maybe it's a rewarding it's a rewarding feeling, right? Even when you volunteer, it's extremely rewarding because you can't get that same feeling when you buy something. If you buy something from Amazon or whatever the case may be, you can't get that same feeling. And that feeling is just very hard to describe. And I think that's what Frieren is doing throughout her journey. I think because what was that one goddess? I don't know if she was a goddess, but she was able to grant a wish, whatever wish she wanted, and she said she wants nothing.
Oh, and the great sage, it's like Siren or something like that.
Funny enough. The great sage or something.
Yeah.
And again, to what Debo said, that was a level of humility that many people are not. People will not give that as an answer and just say, no, I don't want something. They would always want something.
I wanted to go through their journey.
Exactly. But what Frieren said was, I really like what she said. She said, if you just give me the spell, there's no fun in that. And plus, I'm going to have to live for a long time. I would rather just learn those spells and have fun in the process. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And
yeah, I think that's a good point. Having fun.
Yeah, just having fun. And then with that, I think because she's accomplished everything in terms of what she defines, because it's not money. She's not looking for money. She was just looking for experience and learning magic. It was actually magic. She just wanted to really learn magic and perfect magic.
Killing demons. Don't forget that one. Don't forget avenging her family for being killed by the demons. That was a factor.
And she got that. She defeated the demon.
Yep.
She's if not the best mager.
Mage.
In the I played RuneScape, so we used to call them majors.
Oh, okay. I was like, what? I was like, why are you Making up words. I was like, what? Okay, that makes sense now. Your
Yeah,
gamer side is coming out again.
yeah. So for her at this point, it's just my only thing I can really do that provides me this rewarding feeling is helping others.
Mm.
I don't need money. I don't. I the the demon lord is gone.
Mm-hmm.
I've experienced a lot, but I can still experience more.
Mm.
And yeah,
I guess I'll reflect it back at you guys. How do you guys feel about that? This idea of being remembered and having monuments built in your name, but at the same time, or accomplishing things, right? It doesn't have to actually be a monument, it's accomplishing things. But the things that you really value. I'll let you guys have a moment to think. I've had some time to think about this, and I've had these conversations. There's one person, she's probably listening to it right now. She knows who she is. Jordan, you know who I'm talking about. And I've had conversations with her where she's worried about money and stuff. And there's one particular young man I've been having this conversation with. A lot of my young guys, I've had these conversations with them because I remember what it's like being in your early 20s and you don't have stuff. And you scroll on social media and you're seeing how everyone has stuff. You go on the internet, everyone has stuff. You go outside, people have stuff. Stuff could be anything, right? It could be nice clothes, nice/expensive clothes, cars, shoes, beautiful partner, girlfriend, or whatever. In this case, because we know our stuff is focused on men and boys. And the thing, I've had conversations with a lot of them, and this is coming from my own experience too when I say this, and I'm like, stuff doesn't make you happy.
Mm-hmm.
We're told that. And Jordan, you've been over to the house is still being set up, and you haven't been to this house. You've been to the condo quite a few times. You saw all my giant sculptures and all the things I have, the video game console, the game setups. It's not to say I don't appreciate what God has given me, but it doesn't bring me joy. It's like when I spend time with you as my younger brother, that's what brings me joy. It's not like stuff is nice. Stuff, I get those stuff to reward myself for some of my accomplishments, but it doesn't bring me anything. Like I said, the hero party defeating the demon lord. Yeah, we did this thing. It's great, but actually having a surrogate daughter that I adopted from a war-torn part of the country, that actually brings me much more joy than talking about something I did 10 years ago. I just want to hear you guys' thoughts on that. And
there's levels to there's levels to it. So when we talk about saving the world as a singular action, everybody is going to hold you in high regard. But there's no real level of intimacy in the regard that they show you. It's just, you saved the world, so we're grateful.
You're like a figure icon.
Exactly. Now, when it comes to those side missions where it's like, I help you maybe bring you some herbs that are used to heal a relative or whatever, that level of intimacy is like right there. I can see you as you do the thing that saves my loved one. As opposed to, I'm just at home hoping that you save the world on the other side of the globe.
Right. That's true.
So that level of intimacy right there on the side missions, you get to really be in the streets and shake hands and kiss babies, as they say.
Yo, your dry humor kills me, bro. What about you, Jordan, Mr. Accomplished? This guy always has an accomplishment every time I talk to him.
So your first question was about having kids or something like that?
Clearly not. No, we're just talking about just the idea of Hyder, right? Hyder,
like your legacy, or
exactly, versus just he's done all these things, stopping the demon lord, saving the world, but the thing that brought him the most joy was having like a surrogate daughter that he adopted. Like stuff doesn't really make you happy. Oh, stuff makes you happy?
Personally, for me, no,
Or
it
rather
really
fulfillment?
doesn't.
Sorry?
I've noticed.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
No, go on.
I've noticed that when I start to hang around certain people, that I just stop spending. I stop buying things because I've noticed that I'll probably just use that thing for a month or two, and then I just wouldn't use it again.
Mm.
Fun fact: I've bought a PS5 3 times, and I've sold it every single time after a month or 2 months of usage.
You only told me once. Okay. So you had two more situations where two other situations where that happened.
Yeah, so I've done it 3 times, and because it was just I've done this when I was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
I was playing the video game when I was a teenager. It was just wasn't for me. It just wasn't fulfilling. I guess it wasn't something I was looking
Right.
forward to.
Right.
I
Right.
think I mean I think it just depends who you ask.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, they literally find enjoyment in just trying to just accumulate wealth. Other, they find enjoyment when it comes to teaching others about things.
Mm-hmm.
Some people just want to have play fantasy football or basketball and hang around with their friends, and that's joy to them. Congolese, that for example, for them is going to France because that's the mecca for them, and then just drinking beer and in a white plastic chair
Mm-hmm.
and socializing with their friends, and that's life to them, and they're happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
guess for me, it would be I definitely want a family. I definitely
Mm-hmm.
want a family.
Mm-hmm.
I think I will have joy in that because I people see the way the world is going,
Mm-hmm.
and you always want to think that you can have a positive influence on the world.
Mm-hmm.
And what better way to do that by introducing someone, a mini you,
Mm.
raise them right, make sure that they don't have things to rely on, but they have good values, characters, and morals to
People
reflect on.
were allowed too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, essentially people around them who can bring out those best characteristic traits in those
Mm-hmm.
kids. So I think for me, it's just probably having a family. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Yeah. And so for me, a lot of my youngest, so one of them, he might be listening. He just recently, I think this past week or two, he got accepted into game development school. I still haven't posted on my story. I was supposed to do that, but I've just been
Nice,
busy with other stuff.
congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. And so for him, when I said congrats, he was very, and not to say he was rude about it, like he did call me to tell me he got in because it's not like he was not proud of his accomplishment, but there was like a sort of indifference, if you get what I'm trying to say, in the sense of I didn't, it's just whatever. I'm like, no, this is huge. You got into game development school, and the big part of it was just how well his interview went. So it's not even from like his just having the best grades or whatever. Not to say his grades are bad, but it came from the integrity of his character, and that's the reason why they want to bring him into the school. And it's just like that's huge. Like, we need to celebrate this. But for him, he didn't see it. It's just like it's just whatever. And even another one for him, I mentioned before when we were talking about like, the stuff make you happy. For him too, he got accepted into his arts program, and he also, and that's why I said I think this episode is important because a lot of my young guys, they're doing all these amazing things. You guys have met some of them when you guys went out for that men's movie night that we did, and they're doing great things or accomplishing things. And I'm like, I'm so proud of you guys. You guys are doing things to the point where like I can't even celebrate all the things you guys are doing. It's going to cost me too much money. And they're just very lukewarm about their accomplishments. And I know where that comes from because for me too, I can't remember what I did. I can't remember what I did, but one of my homegirls, like I said, she's like a sister to me. I can't remember what I did. Oh, I remember now. I started working part-time with one of my first employers when I was starting to do community work. And I got to start working finally with youth, which was like the aim I was trying to go towards. And I started part-time. I wasn't full-time. I was part-time for like, I think a good 2-3 years. And when I got in, I was like, okay, cool. But now I need to get full-time. I remember for her, she was telling me, no, we need to celebrate. And I was just like, why? Because for me, the way I've been raised, I would say a lot of us, but I would even say it's an inherent quote unquote genetic thing. It's how we're socialized as men. We're focused to go on the next goal, right? The hero's journey, the credits are rolling, right? The credits haven't rolled. Yeah, I got the job as part-time. Now I need to focus on getting full-time. When I get, and for my mind, it's like when I get full-time, that's when we can celebrate. But no, because it'll be something else. Maybe I want to get a certain credential, a certain degree, or a certain, or I need to get a pay raise or whatever. And then that's what I celebrate. It's always the next thing over and over. And she said, no, be in the moment and actually celebrate yourself. You deserve to be celebrated. And it was very hard for me to receive that because one, I got part-time. So I say this in the financial context because she's like, you should go out to eat. Maybe we can go get sushi. And I'm like, I don't have money for sushi. It's part-time. I'll maybe do sushi when I have a full-time job working with youth. And she's like, you know what? Not a problem. I'll pay for your sushi. I'm going to make sure you celebrate yourself. And at that point, I'm just like, fine, I'll do it. But that stuck with me because every time I have done something, no, we celebrate to the point where I'm married now. And whenever Deb and I do things, I'm like, no, we need to celebrate. And I make it now a point to celebrate because it's important for us to do that. But initially, I didn't see the value in it. And so when I look at these young men and boys, they're getting accepted into their school, they're graduating from their programs, they're getting A's across the board. And I'm like, yo, I'm so proud of you guys are doing great. They're like, they'll say, oh, the one who got accepted to video game school, right? Game development. He's like, yeah, but I didn't start my classes yet. It starts in January. Doesn't mean you don't deserve to be celebrated. Doesn't mean only few people get into game development school, let alone people who get to go into higher education around the world. Like, that's huge. That's a very small population. And you got in and you're going to graduate. And we'll also celebrate that too. Because I know for him, it's, I'm going to get to game development school. And then after I get to game development school, I have to graduate game development school. And then when I graduate game development school, then I have to get a job at a video game publisher company. And when I get that, then I have to find a girlfriend and get married. And then when I get a house, then maybe, even after that, then it's going to be, then I have to have a kid with that woman I get married to. And then maybe after that kid, I'll maybe celebrate. But by then, you won't have the capacity to celebrate. You don't have the time. You have a kid. But you never sat down and just appreciated what you did. And like I said, I see that a lot with men and boys. Even one, I don't know if he'll listen to this episode. I remember he got a car and I was like, oh, we need to celebrate. He's like, yeah, but it's just a van. I'm like, do you know how many people in Toronto don't have cars that have to take public transit? You got a car. When I get a BMW, that's when I'll celebrate. No, we're going to celebrate now. Yeah, it's not a BMW, but you have a car. Let's be in this moment and let's celebrate. There's so many times I had to fight him. It's funny with all of these young guys, I had to fight them to celebrate. Just similar to who I consider a sister forced me to. She have to actually fight me to celebrate. But it's such a thing with us as men and boys. I don't know what you guys think about that, or if you guys have experiences with that. But the idea of just sitting in the moment and celebrating, it's just so contentious, if you will.
What you're saying really resonates with me because when I was graduating high school, I had two friends, brothers, that I grew up with, and one was going to school in the States for football.
Right.
And another was going to a Canadian college or Canadian university for football, both on scholarships.
Right.
So I saw their mom and she was asking me what I was doing with myself. And I was like, I'm just going to Humber College. She stopped me right there and was like, no. We're not going to do none of that. I'm just going to, no, you're going to college.
Right.
And
I like that.
And she just didn't make me downplay what I was doing.
Mm.
And that always stuck with me. That even if you think what you're doing is
Isn't a big
minute,
deal. Mm-hmm.
celebrate it. celebrate the small things before you get to the big ones. Because you never know, the big ones may never come. So celebrate what you got.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
I agree. I think it was Eb, I think it was you who first exposed. I love how I spoke your name like you weren't here.
Yeah, no, you always do that as if like I'm not in the room. But I know you're about to say. That's why I started laughing.
No, so I think it was you, Eb, who introduced this notion that every accomplishment or milestone that you do, take time, celebrate, go out, celebrate with friends or whatever. Because before, I remember, oh man, I was young and I still understood this notion. I was like, okay, if I do this, and I'm gonna have to do that, and then I'm gonna have to do that. So I remember I was really young, and I told my mom was like, okay, you know what, just finish high school. I said, okay, cool, whatever. Okay, I'll finish high school. And then she said, okay, just finish university. And I'm like, okay, whatever, I'll do that. And she said, just get a nice job. And I was like to my mom, you just keep moving the goalposts. When can I just relax? When can I just be me, find out what I want to do, find out what I like without you having to tell me what I should do?
Mm-hmm.
And I did that. And then it was, now she's saying, okay, just get a house. And the, and then you come along and you say, Jordan, just celebrate all those accomplishments. Where with her, I didn't really have that. I didn't really have every single milestone that I do, just take time and celebrate that. But one thing I will say that she did, and I was really grateful for, is when I did graduate university, uh, I told my mom I'm not going to the graduation. My mom said, "What? What do you mean you're not going to the graduation?" I said, I didn't go to the graduation for my middle
Yep.
school. I didn't go to the graduation for my high school. So I have this pattern of just not going to the graduation for literally anything. And my mom said, okay, no, this one, just go. And of course, if you don't like that, then whatever accomplishment you have in the future, just don't go to it. But just see how that feeling felt by going to your graduation. And I remember after my graduation, I went to my mom and I thanked her a lot. I said, you know what? It was actually a really good feeling. It was a good feeling because I saw my family there celebrating me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw also people back in Congo celebrating me.
Mm.
Imagine this. They don't have a lot of money, but they sent me money.
Wow.
Can you imagine that? I'm supposed to be sent, of course I do, but I'm supposed to be sending them that that money. But
Yep.
they sent whatever little dollar they had to really showcase that, hey, listen, we're actually really proud of you.
Mm.
And for many viewers who may not know, but being a Congolese graduate, it's a huge thing in our culture
Mm-hmm.
because
Education is a big deal. Mm-hmm.
it's a big deal. Yeah, it's a big deal. And my family's back home, they all chipped in together. So it wasn't just one person giving me money. It was the
Mm-hmm.
entire family back home. They said, okay, we're going to chip in 20, 30, whatever, and
Mm-hmm.
give this all to Jordan. And just little experiences like that just made me realize that sometimes I should stop and just smell the roses, like you
Yep.
say.
You and I. That's some of the times we fought a lot. I fought you for the
Yeah, you fought
celebration,
me a
especially the
lot.
graduation. Huh?
Yeah, you fought me a lot. You fought me a lot on
Yep.
it.
But the funny thing is, I don't know if I ever told you this, John. I don't think we ever had this conversation. I had to be fought to go to my own graduations. So I'm also a hypocrite. I fought you because I am you. I was just like, I was the same. I did not want to go to any of my graduations. And that's why I said like, we're socialized, right? Like women, like, and this is not a bad thing, but like women really socialize. And I think that's probably why they live longer than us. They actually take joy in the moment of celebrating their thing. For us, it's and
For
as
us, it's like for us, it's like the next thing. What is the
thank
next
you.
thing, as especially as
Exactly.
a man, that we must do to secure
Exactly.
us?
It's
Because
the
for
next
us,
thing.
family is huge. We want a family and a stability,
Yep.
and we know that if we don't have stability, we definitely cannot have a partner.
Yep. But the thing I've been thinking about too, watching Frieren, I really want to get you guys input on that. And I'll lean to you first, Jordan. Is that I think so. Like Deb was watching the show. I don't remember what the name. Debo, you might know it because you have a girlfriend. It's like a reality show. I think it's on Netflix. It's about this making of a girl's pop group or whatever. I don't know the name, but I was watching how like when they got to when the different girls groups whatever would move on to the next stage in terms of elimination, because that's how they show the work. It's all about elimination. They would like scream and holler and get excited and hug each other and kind of cry. And I was thinking about how celebration's almost gendered. If you guys see what I'm saying, I can't see a boys group and they're allowed to scream and yell and get excited and cry about moving on to the next level. Maybe like, yeah, woohoo, but there's not that much freedom of expression. I don't know. This is from my own anecdotal way of looking at it, my own personal way of looking at it, but I don't know what you guys think.
I think that the only time men celebrate is if the activity that they do is male dominated. So, for example, celebrating a champ, yeah, exactly, sports, right? That's a really good example right there.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's, I'm trying to think, birthdays, we definitely don't celebrate. We try to make sure we don't celebrate. How bad it is for men to celebrate their birthday is that we don't even say happy birthday. We create all these words.
What do they say, like happy moon day or
happy 365, happy birthday. For some reason, we don't think it's man enough to just say happy birthday.
Yep.
I don't know the psychology behind that, but I find that
happy
really
G Day.
Happy G Day.
Happy G Day. What does the G mean? Grand Day? What does the G mean?
Is it Happy Gangster Day or something?
Have a blessed Earth Strong.
Huh?
Have a blessed Earth Strong.
Oh, that's another one.
Oh, yeah. I think it's definitely male. It depends on the activity. If it's male dominated, I feel like that's when we celebrate. But if it's somewhat, I don't know, gender neutral, yeah. I'm trying to think. Do you guys know any example of a gender neutral?
I can think of one right now because this almost caused Deb and I to break up. This almost caused Deb and I to break up. So Deb and I don't think you've seen this side of me yet because we haven't really gone out to do things like that. We tend to just spend time at my place together, or we tend to just go eat out. But I get very excited. I can get very excited about things. And I went to go watch. You remember Code Geass Loose Resurrection?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Deb and I went to go watch that movie. She didn't watch Code Geass. She came with me to the movie because I invited her. I was really excited for that movie. And then we also watched Avengers Endgame together back in 2019. And those movies, they weren't that far apart. Maybe I would say Avengers May. It always came out in May. And then I think Lelouch was like June, July, the Code Geass movie. And she saw me get very excited. I was jumping, screaming, hollering. I'm seeing Captain America pick up Thor's hammer Mjolnir and fight down. I'm Captain America on Captain America action. You know me, I'm a Cap Glazer. So I'm like, what? I'm losing it. And outside of those circumstances, you know how I am, Jordan. I'm pretty chill. I'm pretty cool when level-headed. Deb even seeing those sides of me, I guess you could say celebration, quote unquote, in the loosest terms, she was put off on it. It was to the point where she was like, this nigga's kind of weird. This is kind of strange. I'm going to have to, and I'm being honest when I say this, she had to make a pros and cons list because she's like, I don't know if I can be with a man who's this expressive. So I think about, in terms of celebration, if it's actually gendered, right? Are we allowed to, like I said, that girls group, they're celebrating because we moved to the next elimination round. I'm like, are boys and men allowed to do that?
Yeah. Imagine being at a movie and you're tearing up or you're really excited. I feel like, it'll put off definitely turn them off. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Do you remember that one viral list? I think it was a woman that created. I think
it was like I had 101 last time I saw it. Yeah.
The last time I saw was at 100. I think they're at 500 now. I don't know.
500? Is it like men aren't? I heard men aren't supposed to have skincare routines. I heard about that one.
Yeah, they're not
or
supposed
who
to.
have electric.
You're not supposed to tie your shoes. You're not supposed to smile too much. Like, why are you happy?
I heard one of, what was it? She can't trust men who have electric toothbrushes.
Oh, that's a crazy
Can't
one.
blow soup.
Yeah, you can't blow soup. I saw that one.
I didn't see that one. We can't blow soup now?
Why are you blowing soup? Just drink it.
Cool. No, just a first degree burn in my mouth. Just take it, right? Okay, so I'm not allowed to blow soup.
Yeah,
really-
I think there's this unhealthy. I think there's this unhealthy perception of men because we had the Vikings, because we had war, and at the turn of the 20th century, everything became diplomatic.
Mhm.
Of course, by default, we still have that kind of evolution.
Evolutionary expectation.
Yeah, for most part of male existence, it's always been about war. So you always have to be manly. You always have to be calm, cool, and collected. And now the 21st century comes along, and you have the rise of the internet. People are expressing themselves, and we don't have to go to war, at least in the
You
developed
also want to
countries.
die for some arbitrary reason either.
Yeah, you don't have to die. Yeah, exactly. And remember, most of the reason why men even went to war is because of they're trying to protect
Yep.
the people
Trying
they
to protect
care
for some
about.
arbitrary reason from some leader because he's bored and he just wants more land. Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
much.
but now in the developed world, you don't have to do that. If you really want to protect your family, you just move to a different postal code or zip code.
It's kind of funny when you word it that way.
We don't have to do
It's
that.
true. It's true. It's true.
You can have the man who literally has no muscle in his body, but he can still do a better job protecting, their partner than someone who looks physically able to do so by just changing his postal code. That's it.
Yeah,
That's all he has to
protection.
do.
The definition
And
of
that's the time
protection.
that's the time we live in a developed society.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
What do you do with all that extra time? You start making TikToks, you start working skincare routine, you start actually expressing yourself, your emotions, all that repressive evolutionary
You're not built to
emotion
die,
that didn't
essentially.
come
You're
out.
built to
Yeah, you're
live
not
now.
built to die. And this is what we're doing. And then of course our partners are baffled by that because
This nigga has an opinion? What? He has thought? Whoa. And this is something that like Deb had to come to terms with. So you have feelings? Is that what you're telling me? You feel things?
Nigga, was that a vulnerability?
That's crazy. I think this really goes into the whole celebration thing. I love how Devo, I'm glad we have you here. Your one-liners are just they're top tier. I remember because Deb always wanted like a kind, sensitive man, and I am sensitive. I'm very open about it. And I remember when we first started dating, and I told Deb like she did something that hurt my feelings, and it just caught her off guard. She was just like, "Oh shit!" Like this is what it means to be with a sensitive man. It means that like I can actually hurt him, and then he's gonna tell me, and now I have to apologize for the thing that like my exes had to do to me because they hurt my feelings because I'm sensitive. I've hurt his feelings, and I have to apologize.
this brother's actually expressing his emotion in full sentences.
He's not even grunting and beating his chest like a gorilla.
Wow. Yeah.
Do I have to be accountable?
It makes me think of the stuff with Okorun and ISA, when we're talking about Dan to Dan, where she was just like, Okorun is very emotionally expressive. And she's like, oh, shoot, he's actually just telling me how he feels. Shit, I don't know. And she had a hard time adjusting to it, right? And I think that's a really good point. I've talked about this. This really goes back into what Jordan was saying. Because when I talk with my young guys, they talk about like, their challenges with women and girls. And I had to remind them, in terms of human history, in terms of Western context, women got rights. If we look at all of human history, they got rights last week. And men talking about things and expressing themselves happened, give or take a day, if not a few hours ago. You can't expect women and girls to fully get it just yet because it just started. It just started being a thing. So it's not like women are inherently misandrous who hate men. They're adjusting to something that's new. They're like, oh, shoot, he has a skincare routine. Oh, shoot, he's gonna tell me that what he liked, what I said he didn't like it. He's not gonna just grunt and take it like a gorilla. He's gonna just say, "Hey, I really appreciate you didn't say or did that." And it's like, oh shoot, like as Devo said, oh shoot, is that accountability because of a vulnerability? Like what? I think it's true, and we're getting to a space where we're gonna have to really evaluate the idea of celebrating ourselves, of enjoying ourselves, right? Of going out to eat. I don't personally like having to go out to a restaurant. I'd rather buy food and come home and watch anime in my own space. But the idea of just buying food for yourself and celebrating yourself. I remember, this is like a tangent story, but I have like a burn on my right arm. You guys can't really see on this camera, but basically I burned my arm cooking. I remember I was like texting Affrica about it, and she was just like, I was gonna go back to cook again, and she's like, no, go buy food. Like for me, I was like, even if I'm injured, I'm still going to follow through in this thing I said I was going to do. This whole mindset of just, you're supposed to just push through, which we see that in anime all the time. Anime and comic books, the characters like bleeding out from their arm, but they're just like, what was it? The masculine urge to bleed out on snow. I don't know if you guys seen those things. Or just like you want to bleed on snow like John Wick or something. You just want to push through. And
I seen that one. Dude was like looking into the rivers, like here's the spot.
I seen that one. Right, the black guy, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Like looking into like a riverbed. He's like, here's the perfect spot.
Yep. You just want to push through and do this thing, and it's, you don't have to. You don't have to. Especially, we have the masculine urge. We don't have to do that. But yeah, no, I actually do want to ask you, Debo, like,
buddy, it's okay to live.
That's the one to ask you. Like, what do you feel about like this idea of celebration and living, and especially in the context of men and boys? Like, how do you feel about that and being the idea of it being gender?
When you look at these talks of like gender roles and whatnot, I don't think the fact that men are supposed to lay their lives on the line is appreciated enough now.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, it's expected. That you cannot be in a situation where your family's life on the line and you do anything that looks pussified.
The man said pussy.
Might as well never come home.
Yeah.
You might as well do the old, hey, listen, we're out of milk, and never come back.
I wanted to bring up a really cool point. So in the current arc I just finished in One Piece is Wano. It's like a very samurai Japanese-esque arc in One Piece. They don't really do a lot of Japanese stuff in One Piece, so Wano is like the Japanese arc. And samurai bushu, like we're all familiar with that stuff. And a lot of the samurais, they have that mindset of, as long as, which is the very masculine thing, I'm willing to die to protect my family, right? Or to make sure like my wife and my child are good. And I remember one of the characters, like, he was like, nigga, fuck that. I'm not dying. I want to see tomorrow. Why am I going to die if I don't have to? What's the point of dying? I'm going to make it till tomorrow. No, let's live. And I remember it just being such a cool contrast, because it's like the whole idea of the samurai bushu is like to die in honor. It's like, what if you don't have to die? What if you can just live? I didn't expect Jordan to laugh from that one. It was true. He was like, why am I going to die? This is stupid. Let's live. And I'm like,
no, because I've seen a few anime. I forgot which anime, but where the person would say, why am I dying? Why do I have to die? No, I'm not dying. I'm out. I want to enjoy life.
Yeah.
So, it's funny.
Yeah, sure. We don't have to do that. And I guess this goes back into what you said, Jordan. We have a choice now. It's not just the masculine urge to bleed out on snow, right? Bleach out snow. You don't have to do that. You get to keep living. And like I said, that's the thing I really, this is a tangent point. This is the reason why I liked All Might staying alive in Hero Academy, is like he didn't have to just go out in a blaze of glory. You can just keep living. And I really do enjoy that. And I really enjoy that idea of just us celebrating ourselves, us living life, us enjoying life. And we're not just going from one goal to the next, one objective to the next, because it never really stops. There's no, and the way I word it is that there's no end credits until we're gone, until we leave this earth. There's no real end credits. It just keeps going. There's no, I did it. You did some things, if anything, right? You saw how the hero party, they accomplished defeating the demon lord, and then life went on. In fact, some of the demons were still causing havoc, right? Because the demon lord was gone. So they're still trying to do something.
But just adding to your point, this is why I have a problem with the red pill industry. One thing, I will say one thing. One thing that did get me hooked into that whole industry in the beginning, at first, until of course I had to I found out that they were fraud. I like the confidence behind it. You know, that masculine energy confidence.
Yeah.
Like in the beginning, like that gets you. For example, if you've never watched the Andrew Tate, whatever, and you've seen him for the first time, you will like his confidence.
Yep.
But then the more you start to listen to the guy, you see how that confidence easily turns into arrogance. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Yeah.
My goal, like I mentioned before,
take your girlfriend. Yep.
Yeah, so my goal in life, of course, is to get a family. And with a family come kids, right? And once you have kids, then it's all about the kid now. You know, how do you raise a family so that you can take care of the kid? And I analyzed this red pill industry, and I'm like, okay, I hear about some of the things that they do, all the scandals behind closed door. They say don't go after baby mama, but then they themselves have baby mamas. And I'm just like, you guys are funny. You guys are a really special, interesting, hypocritical group. Right, they're fraud. But then I look at people who are not in that red pill space. They're more balanced, and they have successful marriages, relationship, wonderful kids. And now I'm questioning. I'm saying, okay, just based off of my experience of what I'm seeing, who would I want to align myself with? One who has the fake confidence and is preaching this whole lifestyle that you get money, you get as many women as possible, you live the fast life, whatever. Or do I get the other one? Yeah, exactly. Or do I get the other one where they're just as successful, but they're more chill. They value understanding. They value having high emotional intelligence. Whereas, for example, the red pill industry, they don't value emotional intelligence. They think that they do. They say that. But then when you look at some of these influencer, they snap so quick at their woman guests. They snap so quick and they want to kick them out.
Your OnlyFans guests more. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's not emotional intelligence what you're preaching. So it's just so interesting when I just look at.
I wanted to add it to a point you're saying, and so one of my homegirls, she's on her process of finding a husband, and she meets a lot of guys who are understandably fans of Kevin Samuels. And she asked them, like, do they have men? She'll ask them, like, do you have brotherhood mentors? They're like, nah, I just have my money and my accomplishments. And I'm just like, even Kevin Samuel said to go get therapy, to have mentors, and to have a community. Who said it's not about the money? He said it's about life is about people. And it's very funny how people, even someone who says something like that, people can be so, I guess you could say, selective in hearing. Whereas it's like, no, even this person said it's not about hedonism. It's about relationships and being mentored and having people guide you and having supports. And it's very interesting how, like, the only thing they take away from the quote unquote red pill industry, even those who might have even spoken sense, is I need to get stuff. Stuff will make me happy. When I get the stuff, I will be happy. And I will get women who will add to my stuff. Right? Just like they keep saying, have sex with some copious amounts of women. for reasons. You're supposed to have sex with a lot of women for reasons, and after you do that, I guess then you'll feel happy or feel good about yourself, supposedly. And you see how, assuming they have these grifters, if you will, they're very insecure and childish.
And they say, yeah, and then these guys, we can safely assume that some of these guys do have money,
Mm-hmm.
and they also, to a certain degree, they do have option, but yet they still go on live, talk some of the most foolishness ever. So what does that tell you? Clearly, the money is not doing something. Clearly,
Mm-hmm.
the woman is not doing something if they're still looking for that validation from men who are not at quote unquote the same financial level as they are.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an eye opener. A lot of these viewers have to take into account why they still trying to convince me of who they are when number one they have the money and they have all these options. What is this? And I think what it is it comes from a place of lacking. They're
Yeah.
still lacking that fulfillment. Whatever they want to define, I'm not going to define it for them, and that's the reason why they still go on YouTube talking, doing the same talking point as the next red pill guy. They all have the literally the same talk. Have you noticed that?
It's the same thing.
It's the same talking
And
point.
it's
Yeah.
weird how they always get with single moms. And I remember our Abba and Preach were, Abba specifically from Abba and Preach was talking about how it's a single mom who is easier to control because she doesn't have as much support, she doesn't have as many options. So therefore, she's more willing to accept a lower quality man. And so she'll be with these guys because I'm just like, how are they? It is weird, even the ones who aren't single dads, how they get with single moms. It's a from my anecdotal personal perspective, it's it's a disproportionate amount. A lot of them are with single moms, and it's just like, why? But you speak so ill of them. Of all the demographics you could get with, it's this specific demographic, and barely legal young women. I can't forget that one. Both is just weird, and it's because you can control them because you're insecure.
And because they know a woman who's mature, emotionally smart, and all of that will see through the bullshit.
Bingo.
And then they're much harder to control. I don't know. Debo, what do you think about all this?
These red pill guys, at the end of the day, a lot of the stuff that they say makes sense. The problem is, it seems most of them
Mm-hmm.
aren't practicing what they preach.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the big issue.
Yeah.
It's a huge issue. They're basically doing what Derek Jackson did, and we all seen what happened to him.
Yo, Derek Jackson was a clown. Like he was
And the
just
red pill community went in on this guy.
crazy. They
And then when you look
celebrated.
at it, literally all the people who are all the big names in the red pill community, in the red pill industry, are either dead, rest in peace, Kevin Samuels, or they're
Being exposed.
not even just they're being dead, being exposed, having their demonetized, or completely irrelevant at this point.
Mm.
Everyone else has basically distanced themselves from the whole red pill theme.
Mm. Yeah, that is fair. That is fair.
But I get the need for what the red pill was trying to do, and I don't want to say they're onto something, but it was crazy that the amount of TV shows that I saw where it was like they'd be some type of, and it'd be like them police procedural shows. I think one of them was FBI, but like the amount of like shows of that nature that I seen
Mm-hmm.
that had some kind of like terrorist group or like criminal who was part of the red pill community or was an incel.
Yeah, like the show.
Ridiculous.
Sorry, go on.
No, it was just ridiculous to me the amount of times that I see that on TV.
Yeah, it was like that show. I think it was on Amazon Prime. Dr. T.S. Johnson covered it. It was Powers or something like that, where it was like all women got like basically superpowers, or if they touch you, like fry and or explode.
Yeah, the world got electrocution powers or electric powers.
Is it powers?
Yeah, they all turn into a bunch of electros.
Yeah, pretty much. And I remember their main antagonist was basically some Jordan Peterson anonymous, the hacker group, anonymous incel group who hated women having the right to vote, essentially. And this is this cartoonish hatred of women. And it's just like, have you guys actually listened to anything that was being said by these demographics before you just decide to lump everyone all together and assume that it's all out of malice? It was very interesting to seeing that. Even does that movie Hello Dear, and the main antagonist once again was Jordan Peterson. He became like the face of incels, even though he spoke against them. And then
even what's it called?
You didn't like the incels.
She-Hulk.
She-Hulk.
From what I gathered, the villain was the internet trolls.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, because there's this, like I said, this cartoonish hatred of women, which you even saw in that show. I watched, I think, the first episode, and I'm just like, I do hang out with men. We're not typically doing this thing where we're just cartoonishly misogynistic. So I have a misogynistic, it's cartoonish. We're just like, oh, who are you? Why don't you want to sleep with me? Because I'm a man. Or beat my chest. It's like, come on, guys. At least if we're gonna.
My wife is not in the kitchen.
Barefooted. I was talking about that with my friend. Where it's just like, for some reason, especially for us as black men, not only we're gonna make our wives pregnant, we're also gonna revoke their right to have slippers and just place them indefinitely in the kitchen because God forbid she has slippers. As you brought up Kevin Samuels, you made me want to bring up the idea of sign. No, is Zane. It's weird how they pronounce his name in the anime. Zane, the last guy, the priest who joins the hero party in Frieren. How he reminded me a lot of really smart people who, including myself when I say this, who, without doing my own harm as a super smart person, but intellectual people who rationalize themselves into their own suffering. How he kept just saying, like, it was too late for me. Just going on the concept of time, like 10 years have passed. What's his name? Gorilla Warrior never came back. He was supposed to come back 7 years ago. I didn't take the chance 10 years ago, so I shouldn't now because it was too late for me. And I hear this so much with people where it's too late for me, or I need to get this thing done by then. But more so the latter, we're like, oh, I need to attend 2 more conferences before I start this thing. I need this more amount of money to do this thing. I need this thing before I start. And it's just like, the only time to start is right now. I don't know. He was my other favorite character besides Himmel. I don't know what you guys thought of Zane, the adult priest that joined him later on in the series.
Honestly, can't speak on this. I do not remember the character.
How would I help you remember? Do you remember those 4 people in the party at the middle point?
Negative.
Damn. Do you actually? By the way, you said you were going to try and watch the show. Do you remember the demons now?
Some of them.
Okay,
he's the one. Yeah, my bad.
Sorry, go on. I don't know who was talking just now.
It was me. Was he the one that got tied up and then he was taunted by the demons?
Tied up and taunted by the demons. No, that was the duke. That was one of the dukes of one of the villages.
That's one of the dukes. Okay, because they more or less look the same. Okay.
Oh. Hold on. Let me just put a picture of sign for you guys in the group chat so you guys can remember. I thought he was a very important character in terms of the idea of just like rationalizing one's suffering, because oftentimes we just only think, oh, it's too late for me. And I think of him, the reason I bring him up, so I sent this so you guys can see. I say that to say because it reminded me of Kevin Samuels in the sense of he was like in his late 40s, early 50s. Yeah, you guys remember him now, right? Or at least Jordan does. He, like Kevin Samuels, started going on YouTube in his late 40s, early 50s, right? Usually most people who start YouTube channels are around our age. And I thought that was really interesting because you don't really see that. And you saw how like he amassed over 1 million subscribers in a very short period of time by just really dedicating himself to his craft because he just wanted to be different. He wanted to do something different. And it makes me think of Zion, where he was just like, oh, it's too late for me to become an adventurer. It's too late for me to do this. I'm too old. And it's just like, you're never too old to do anything. Like, my wife went back to school to be a teacher at the age of 28. I think about 28, right? And most times you think someone in their early 20s. You always like, oh, if you don't follow this, how would I word this? This very set out character journey, quote unquote character journey. If you don't follow this template, there's something wrong with you. You're too past the curve and it's too late for you. You should just give up. You should lie down and just give up. And I really love the idea of Zion just constantly saying, what was it? Like, he was talking to I think he was talking to Frieren when he said this. I wanted to be an adventurer a long time ago. It was a dumb childhood dream that everyone has. And I remember him also saying, I still regret not going on an adventure with him, with Guerrilla Warrior. And I thought that was really interesting because as much as he's acknowledging he's regretting it, he's still doing it and he's still causing his own suffering. I don't know what you guys thought about that. I'll lean more towards Jordan. I know you somewhat remember Zion more.
Yeah, the thing, what I remember about that guy is like he lacks like comparable strength or confidence in general. But then to me, he does represent that not everyone needs to be a legendary hero to have value. And he did contribute. So I do like his what his character represent, because generally speaking, people nowadays think that they have to be the main character. Everyone thinks they're supposed to have MC energy. But it's okay
Aura.
to,
That's what they call it now, right?
yeah,
Aura?
that's what they call it. They say aura.
Yeah.
It's okay to be a Zane and be an extra or be a role player. It's okay. You don't need to have 1,000+ aura to have a contribution to society. There's what's to say? So there's plenty of unsung heroes.
Yeah, and it makes me think of his fight with that. I don't know if you remember the plant that was cursing everybody and putting them to sleep. He wasn't able to take it out. He just woke Frieren up for 5 seconds, and she was able to take out the monster, right? Rather than this whole thing where, what we talk about, you're supposed to fall on your sword and die trying to kill the monsters, or you could play the support role and let the strongest person handle the thing.
Yeah, and I think that his character really represents the average man, like the average person. Like this guy, he often, this is my opinion, but he often embodies like fear and self-doubt and stuff like that. But he still has courage in the face of fear. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I think that it's really interesting to see that, especially in the world of magic and where his party, everyone's a hero, everyone's this top person, top dog, you want to call it.
Yep.
And here you have this guy who he's fearful. He has a lot of self-doubt because, of course, naturally speaking, he's around other heroes. You know what I mean? So no, he's an interesting character. I can see how he can be a favorite to many.
Yeah,
I can see it. I can see it. I see the appeal.
I loved him for the same way I loved Nanami, that older. Like I said, as I'm getting older, I'm starting to like the older characters. So I really loved him for that supportive mentor role he had, especially for Fern and Stark. Whenever like Fern got mad at him for arbitrary reasons because she's super emotional, I loved that dynamic that he had with them. And I love the idea of, because like in the show, they show him like he's like a genius healer, like he's a genius, talented healer, and yet still, as you said, Jordan, he has these faults. He's not perfect, and even though he has all these things, so we don't think when we think about, and this goes into people like Kanye West, Elon Musk, so on and so forth, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs too. We think that once you are quote unquote genius, your life is all figured out. You don't need help. You know all the answers because you're so smart. And we don't really think about, first of all, so this is an interesting thing. I don't know if you guys have ever watched Dr. K, Healthy Gamer. One of the things he talked about was that gamers on average have very high IQs. If you question that, take any of our parents who emigrated from Africa, put them to play God of War. Let's see how much they suffer before they turn off the thing and say it's stupid.
I think I've seen a very interesting study, and it was doctors. You guys probably heard of this, but it was I think it was surgeons, surgeons who play video games. They have a higher chance of, number one, performing the surgery much faster, efficient, in a very effective way, and they're actually more precise than surgeons who don't play video games.
I've heard about that.
Yeah. I've seen that study. It was really interesting. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and when you think about it, it makes sense. There's another study that was done, just fun fact for people that are listening. So they measured, I still haven't taken the test. I forgot to do that, but they took a test of motor skill reflexes and for like people in different profession, different demographics. And the people who had the highest motor skill reflexes were NASCAR drivers, fighter pilots, and professional esports players.
Oh, that makes sense. The first one and the third one makes sense. I'm not too sure about the second one.
Fighter jet, pilots for fighter jets.
Pilots.
Because I'm not talking about airplanes, fighter jets, because you have to think about how fast they're going.
Yeah.
So I found that very interesting. And we don't really talk about these things. We just tend to think gaming is just a childish waste of time. We think you're just, the way we conceptualize the broader society, the way we conceptualize video games is like Mario and Tetris. And it's like, no, take your parent, put them in front of God of War or Zelda. Let me see how much they suffer trying to solve this puzzle while some spiked wall is coming to crush you. You're not figuring that shit out. It's very, like, when you think about this stuff, you think about, like I said, someone with high IQ, genius, and whatever, they must have all the answers. Like, no, actually, as talented as Zion is, as skilled as he is at what he does, as capable he is as he is, he's still a normal person who has issues, where he is still paralyzed because he's so smart. I remember Dr. K from Healthy Gamer talking about this, where like very smart people cause their own suffering. I know you guys have seen this, you guys experience it, where like you'll rationalize why you shouldn't do something. Even though the rationalization, that especially this is a thing for, I would say, for us men, because we're always about logic and rationality, you can still rationalize yourself into your own suffering because you're like, this makes sense. This, that, therefore I shouldn't apply to this job because because I'm wasting my time applying for it. So therefore I could put that time into focusing on improving my performance in the other jobs. Like, no, or even if you improve yourself in your current job that doesn't like you, you could focus that money, you could focus that energy on applying for another job that actually does like you. But we have this way of rationalizing our own suffering, and it's like a internal bias for the brain that we don't quite realize. And I loved how Zion kind of represented that. There's so many people say, oh, why? I'm sure you guys have had this. Like, oh, you'll be talking to someone. I want you guys both input on this. Like how a friend was trying to tell Zion to go on the adventure with them. Oh, you should start a YouTube channel. Or, oh, you should start an Instagram account. Or, oh, you should start up your own business, or whatever it is. You have some great ideas. And I'm sure you guys know people, or maybe within yourselves, where you're just like, no, it's not a good idea. No, it's not. They're basically rationalizing yourself out of doing something different. I don't know if you guys can speak on those experiences.
I had the writing down, but my issue would have been the drawing aspect of it. Whether paying an artist, which I couldn't afford to do at the time, or doing it myself, which I thought it wouldn't have been visually pleasing to me. So I figured if it wasn't visually pleasing to me, it wouldn't be visually pleasing to anybody else. Then come to find out, I'm pretty sure the One Punch Man, he drew that shit himself. And there was another, and it was a little kid, and I think they eventually made a cartoon out of it. It was called like Axe Cop or something like that. Little kid drew it himself.
Oh, don't forget Attack on Titan. Hajime's art is ass for the first. Like his art, like that's the reason I didn't take Attack on Titan, because his art was so bad. And yet, look at his show now. But yeah, sorry, go on.
That's why some of the giants look the way they do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I talked myself out of that, and I kid you not, the premise of what was going to be my comic book, or the idea that I had, was basically the TV show Heroes.
The one where the women get all the powers. That one? Or are you talking about
No.
Supercell?
I don't know if you remember. It came on.
I think when we were in like high school.
Yeah, I remember. Save the cheerleader.
I didn't watch it, but I know of it. Yeah, go on.
And then when I got in years later, when I started doing personal training, I had an idea to do couples workouts. And just the nature of working out in a gym, there's a lot of sexual tension that can easily be created. So I was going to incorporate that into the whole theme. I'm looking on IG, and I basically see my idea.
Damn.
So those were 2 times where I had ideas, talked myself out of it, and then later on saw what was essentially my idea being ran by other people. Yes. If don't let nothing stop you if you think you have a good idea.
Yeah,
even if you're starting off small, start it off small and see where you go from there. But at least try it out.
Yeah, I have one thing to say to that, which is like the first step is always the hardest. Once you take the first step, it gets easier after that. But the first step is the hardest. It's gonna look the ugliest because you don't know what the hell you're doing, but it gets easier after that. And there's a really good quote that both Himmel and Frieren said, which is, "I'm talking to the you right now. I'm not talking to you 10 years ago or 1,000 years ago. I'm talking to you right now, giving you this option to do this thing that you said was too late for you, to be in the moment." But yeah, I don't know, Jordan, if you had any thoughts on the idea of just out rationalizing yourself out of things and, thinking it's too late to do something. And it's okay if you don't.
For me, I think in the beginning was more so education. I have 2 things to say. The first one was education, and then I think the other was I guess suffering as a path to achievement kind of thing.
Okay.
So the education one was because I didn't start university until I was, I think, 21 or 22, and that's usually the age when you graduate, right? You go from 18 to 22.
Yep.
And I was rationalizing. I almost talked myself out of not going because I used to say, listen, why am I going to go? I'm 22. People that I went to high school with are probably done by now.
Yep.
So I see no point going. Yep. And it wasn't until when my mom said, Jordan, 4 years from now, when you're 26, she said, you're going to be 26 regardless whether or not you do your education or not. So do you not want to be 26 with an education? Or do you want to just have those same doubt for like when you're 21, but now you're 26 and you didn't even start? And that's what kind of got to me because I spoke my myself out of not going,
Mm.
my mom put that light in me and said, just go ahead and do it. And I think the other one was, I think I said suffering as a path to achievement.
Mhm.
I remember I was learning how to code and whatever and stuff like that. And I did build, I built, remember that app I told you I built?
Yes.
It was like this video dual triple camera thing. And I took a lot of time trying to
Mhm.
build that. And it was during the pandemic. I was just bored.
Mhm.
And I launched a successful campaign and everything.
Mhm.
And it resonated with my friends, especially on Instagram a lot. They loved it.
Mhm.
But then I just didn't move fast enough because I just thought this is pointless. Like
Mm.
I put so
I was
much
wondering
work.
about that all these years. I just didn't want to press you about it now. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's just yeah. I said, oh man, this is pointless. Plus the pandemic is over. The only reason why I was
Mm.
motivated to begin with is because I was locked at home.
Mm.
But now I'm out and I'm returning back to my job. Do I really want to continue this? I'm not even making money from it. So I spoke myself out of doing that. And come to find out, I kid you not, Eb
Mhm.
and D-Boys, Snapchat incorporated that same feature like probably
Damn.
a year later or something like that. And then my friend, and I found out because my friend sent me, he sent me a video. He said, look what Snapchat just updated. I'm like, oh, damn. I'm like, that's a painful lesson. So,
Yeah, you're making me. I'm trying to find the quote. There was a really good quote from him, from Zion, where he was just basically saying, I don't think I'll find it, but basically, yeah, he was just saying like it's too late for me. There's no point. It's 10 years have passed. It's, okay, so what? Like, there's still the moment now. So yeah, I just really love the idea. As much as we're talking about time and celebrating, it's also just like doing things. Um,
yeah,
I
and not
definitely.
to cut you off, by the way,
No, it's okay.
he does, you're right, he does struggle when it comes to defining his purpose and
Hmm.
his role within the group.
Hmm.
But what I like about Frieren better is, yes, she has a courage, she's competent and everything, but she
Hmm.
also has all the time in the world, but yet she still tries to make and find meaning out of her existence.
Hmm.
Whereas opposed to Sign or whatever his name is,
Hmm.
he sees it as, listen, I'm not Frieren, I'm not Himmel, I'm not Hyder, I'm not all you guys. I'm just this regular schmo
Yep.
without a talent. And I
My
think
village needs me. Don't forget that part. Once again, creating a reason why you can't do that. Oh, my village and my brother needs me to stay in the village, and it's like no
he's
one said
creating
that.
he's just creating all these excuses. But I look towards Frieren doesn't even have to do anything, but she's still willing to try and do something.
Yep.
You know
Yep.
what I mean? So he's not a favorite of mine, but again, like I mentioned before, I do see why he's relatable to
Yeah,
men.
I liked him for his mentor role. I was just like, oh, this is really, especially so. It's funny because I have a lot of surrogate daughters and sons, all right, and a lot of kids I see as my sons and daughters. And Stark reminds me a lot of my young guys, where I'm just like, bro, you have so much potential, but you're doing so much. You're saying or doing something so foolish or stupid right now. You're not even hearing yourself. But I know, and I don't fault them for it because I did the same thing. But it's just funny seeing them do that. How like the fumble the bag me with a girl or something, or maybe they'll do something foolish. I'm just like, what are you doing? But I know I did the same thing. And then Fern, Frieren's apprentice, you know how like she's, I guess you could say, emotionally charged, and she takes things personally and she won't let things go. I think of like my daughters and how they'll just be in their feelings about things where I'm just like, you're upset about this? Like, is this really something to hold a grudge about? And is this, yeah, I just don't want to admit that I'm sorry. And I'm just, so you really want to hold on to this grudge because
Yep.
he didn't smile when he bought you flowers. That's what we're going to focus on. He wasn't smiling when he bought you those flowers. He had a neutral face. Okay. All right. This is the hill you want to die on? Do your thing. Do your thing. And sometimes they'll give me that same energy too, where it's like, Eb, you weren't you didn't. What's something of you didn't immediately respond to my text? I'm like, because I'm busy. Because I'm busy and I'm older. But I will get to your messages. I will call you back. I will just take some of those things personally. I'm just like, I'm waiting. I'm looking forward to when you hit like your later 20s, where I'm just like, remember that thing you did? Remember how foolish I was? Remember? And you wanted me to apologize, and I just apologized to you because that's what made you feel heard and understood. Yeah, I'm glad you realized how you sounded 10 years ago. So it's funny seeing their characters like interact, Stark and Fern. But I want to talk about my favorite aspect of Frieren, which is the demons. I love the demons. I don't know how you guys felt about the demons, but I love the idea that they're just like compassionless beings who just are only capable of speech but no sense of empathy, sympathy, or compassion. I just love that as like villains. I'm like, oh shoot, this is actually like a really cool theme. I wish we actually got to spend more time with the demons, other than the middle part of the show.
Are you talking about the demons that were controlled by Aura? Was that her name?
Aura was fantastic. Qual, the guy who had the Zaltrak, the
that was controlling
human
blood.
killing spell. Sorry,
wait, who was the one that was controlling blood?
that was Lugner. Lugner was one of them.
Lugner, yeah.
There was Lynn, Lugner, Lynn, Aura, and Qual in different parts of the show. But we only really got to see the demons in the middle part of the show, and then we didn't really see them much after that. We only heard about them. I really love them. Sorry, go on.
Okay, you know what I liked about them? I like how they're so calm and collected, even in the face of danger.
Yes, it's eerie because they're like about to die, but they'll have like a blank face.
Yeah, they just have a blank face.
You're bleeding out, bro. Like, why are you good? Sorry, go on.
But one thing about me, and I think you probably know this already, Eb, is I like when a character is always calm and collected, especially in the face of danger.
Fair enough.
I think that speaks a lot of volume. I think that's probably why I liked the demon, because they were all calm and collected. I don't think any of them actually smiled and showed their teeth.
Qual, the sorcerer one who had the magic killing, the human killing spell, he smiled all the time though. But otherwise, yeah, you're right. Yeah. I really love the aspect. I'm trying to find it. So Flam, Frieren's mentor. I really love what she was saying about the demons. I'm trying to find the quote. Where is it? I don't think I'm going to be able to find it at the top of my head or immediately, but basically Flam was just saying how demons they evolved from monsters who used to scream for help, and they only use speech to take advantage of people and their compassion. They're not capable of compassion or empathy or other emotions like how we are. And so, Frieren, you need to fight on their level. I like that idea of not trying to fight, quote unquote, honorably, which we see so much in anime, which there's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes it's not about fighting even. It's about getting the job done. So I know you're going to be a horrible mage by hiding your mana, but you need to do this to be able to fight on an equal footing with them, because the same way as they use the demons, use words to take advantage of people, you need to use your mana suppression to mislead them as well. I just love that concept of just, I guess you could say, fighting fire with fire.
I completely forgot about that aspect. I completely forgot about a lot of themes in that period.
Now it's coming.
Now that you bring it up, I remember that she was hiding her mana the whole time, and like when she exposed, everyone's like, "Oh, that's the ancient mage,
Frieren the Slayer." Yeah.
What was that baddest line? Aura, please kill yourself or go kill yourself. That was bad.
Yeah,
I
was like,
that was nice.
Yeah, and she just, and I loved, honestly, I loved that whole arc. It's probably my favorite arc. I would say that arc without fighting the demons, and then the arc with Sign. Sorry, I would say those are my two favorite arcs. I like the idea of just doing what you need to do for you. So for me, the way I see the demons is not to say everyone, there's there's such thing as demonic energy in this world that we live in. There's such thing as evil, but I say this in the sense of human beings are much more complex. They're much more of a duality. They're not just so black and white. And I like the idea that, there's always going to be, just the same as, yes, the hero party defeated a demon lord. There's still demons still roaming the world that they are in the show. And there's always going to, and to mirror for us, there's always going to be bad people in this world. And my thing is, rather than trying to stop people from being bad, my stance on life is I rather arm the people I love and care about to be able to fight and protect for themselves.
That part.
Right?
I love
where I was give a great example, where I was working before, one of the young guys, he was in a situationship. So one of the young guys that I was working with, I was his worker. He was in a situationship with another girl, another young woman. They're both like in their 18, 19, and they're in a situationship. Most guys want to be in a situationship for the most part, especially when you're young. And I remember she wanted to be in a relationship with him. And one of my things was, so first, I remember, because I'm the only like male frontline worker there. And so I was being asked by some of my black female colleagues to like pitbull. I think, do you guys, by Deb, I know you know what pitbulling is, right? And Jordan, do you know what pitbulling is?
Yes, sir. Sick'em.
Yep. Do you know what it is, Jordan?
No, I don't know what that is.
I'll give you a perfect example. Wait until I tell my older brother he's going to come and kick your ass. I know you heard that one.
Yep.
Yep. You send the man, typically the back man, to go and quote unquote defend your honor. You tell him, go do that thing for the gynocracy, for us, because we want you to, and whatever we tell you to do is the right thing to do. So I was basically professionally pitbulled, asked to pitbull, to go talk with this young, and he's born in Nigeria. The reason I work with him, because I'm half Nigerian. So, we have that sense of understanding. But for him, how he sees me, I'm an outsider. Like, he was born in Nigeria, I was born here, and on top of that, I'm half Trinity. So I'm seen as more as a quote unquote Westerner / outsider. So I thought to myself, if I go and basically finger wag and try to shame him for being in a situationship with her, he's not going to receive me or feel safe with me, because he's going to feel like, oh, as long like I'm only good with Eb as long as I'm not accepting the other women and girls in this space. And so I knew that on that level, that'd be problematic. The other level is, this is a two-way street, this situationship. As much as he wanted a situationship, she agreed to it. And so my thing is, at first I told them, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to pitbull for you. And then I later explained to them, without saying the experience that you had, Jordan, when we traveled, I gave the example of, like, there's always going to be bad people. There's always going to be people who are manipulative or whatever. So if we take out this young man for being in a situationship with her, it's just going to be another guy. So what are we doing to arm her to avoid these pitfalls and situations where she's willing to accept whatever scraps a guy's going to give her? What are we doing to arm her so she sees value in herself, and that she's working towards being a married woman with her own family one day? What are we doing to prep her for that? And of which, after when I explained that to them, they agreed with me. But the initial thing was just like, oh, we need to protect her. It's like, no, she's a grown woman. She can make a choice for herself, right? Isn't that what the whole concept of feminism here in this Western context was about? Women being able to have a choice. She made the choice. So what are we doing to help her, to arm her so she can make better choices for herself? There's always going to be misandry, anti-Black misandry, hatred of men and Black men. So what are we doing to arm men and boys to be able to advocate for? I'm going to do the work I need to do in terms of policy making and community work. But at the end of the day, like, a lot of the things I talk about with my young guys is that you guys need to be able to advocate and articulate for yourselves. I'm not always going to be around. I'm not always going to be in the room with you. So you need to have the wherewithal to express yourself in the ways that you need to say what your needs are, because no one else will. And there's always going to be bad people who are going to try and take advantage of you. Unfortunately, that's the world that we live in. So similar to what Flam was telling Frieren, you need to do these things. As much as you may not like it, as much as it may seem like wrong, you need to be able to defend yourself against these quote unquote demons. I don't know what you guys think about that, but that's how my stance is. There's always going to be bad, but how are we arming ourselves how are we arming ourselves against the evil?
I completely agree with what you just said right there. This is why if you want to take away someone's power, what they used to do back in the day is devoid them of any books. Make sure that they don't, they don't understand words, they don't understand how to use it. I think there's a quote that went like, sharp words can wound as deeply as any sword, but a kind word can heal like a bomb. So that's that's very interesting. I do agree with you. And I think what man should do especially
Mhm.
is understand that words do carry meaning and it is powerful. When I look at the streaming industry and YouTube and social media just in general, I'm seeing a lot of just our young men just talk for the sake of talking. They're not really saying anything of substance. Like, I'm hearing all these, what is it, W chat, W this. They have the same repeating words, and
L chat, L topic.
or yeah, or something like that. Or what do they say? They have the same talking point. For example, if they were to express themselves to a woman, it's the same thing. Oh, what do you think? How old are you? What do you think about me? Yeah, yeah, okay, okay. W in the chat. It's like it's the same talking point.
Mm-hmm.
But if they just understood that, depending how they say certain things, or if they just equip themselves with more words, that they could be way more effective with
Their
whatever
outcome can be
dealings that they're
different.
coming with. Exactly. Another good example is whenever you see them in a scandal and they want to address the public. One thing I will give Tate this: when he was giving his public interviews and he
Mm-hmm.
was addressing the public, he made his points very clear. You
Mm-hmm.
understood exactly what he's saying, each word. It
Mm-hmm.
was very effective. It was sharp like a knife.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever you see one who cannot express themselves well
Mm-hmm.
and they try to address the public, it's in shambles. It's very hard to understand the
Travis
message.
Hunter's girlfriend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Travis Hunter is a perfect example. I think he live streams, right? He's a streamer too.
I was wondering about like why do I keep
Is
seeing
he a
it look like he's
streamer?
live streaming? I don't know. But I guess that would explain the videos. I've only started looking into aspects of his situation. But go on.
Yeah. When he would explain the whole situation, he would say, yeah, what, and I'm going to paraphrase here, but he would say something to the effect of, I want to live my life. You guys don't know her. You don't know me. You don't know our relationship or something like that. He's just not clear enough. We're not entitled to what's going on in his
Yeah, and
personal
his
life.
explanation. Mm-hmm.
We're really not. But the minute you make your relationship public, then you cannot fault the public
Public
for wanting
scrutiny.
to be
Yep.
involved.
Yep.
You know what I
Can't
mean?
pick.
So at least to a certain degree, explain your situation well if you're going to come forth with
I
this
see where
whole
you're going with
relationship.
this.
You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean?
Yep.
And I'm just seeing a lot of young guys. I just feel like if we should value certain people who know how to speak. For example, although I don't agree with certain of his policy, but I like Dr. Umar Johnson the way he expresses himself, especially when he speaks about Pan Africanism. It's
Mm-hmm.
extremely effective. So I think that we
He's
should
an
just.
orator. Mm-hmm.
He is. He's really good at it too.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we men, especially the young black men, they should take the oratory skills very seriously. Remember when I told you? I think when I first met you, I told you, yeah, sure, it's good. It's nice, of course, if a woman calls you cute and stuff like that, and oh, you know how to dress well, you smell good and stuff like that. But remember, I told you this, Eb. I said the greatest honor or the greatest compliment I can ever receive from a person is my speaking skill. Do you remember I told you that?
Yep. And we actually spoke about that the other day with regards to how you expanded your vocabulary and as you're trilingual.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm thinking in like whenever I speak English, especially because many people don't know this about me, but I haven't started speaking English until I was fluently until I
Mm.
was the age of 12, I think. I
And
think
you wouldn't
12.
believe it when people hear you talk.
Yeah, no, people think that I've been speaking English since I was a baby, but no, that's not the case. Majority of my life was just in French.
Mm.
But I think I was just grateful enough because my mom is in ECE. For some people who may not know, that's early childhood education.
Mm.
So she prioritized education in the house, and she just
Mm.
told me just how important expressing yourself and using the correct words and terminology is when you want to convey a certain message.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think that us young black men, we should prioritize that. That's my
Yeah.
opinion.
What are your thoughts on the whole like arming yourself and everything and what I was saying with Aura and the demons? Baba Dibbo.
Again, apologies.
It's all good.
I remember little of the demons. However,
Mm-hmm.
in regards to arming yourself, I believe you should, as a man, you should almost strive to be a Renaissance man
Break that down.
in the sense that you try to attain as many skills as possible. As
I
many,
agree.
Like
let
what?
me,
Break it down for the audience.
as many useful skills as possible. You should know how to build. You should know how to hunt. You should know how to grow food.
Mm.
So, like things like that, you should know how to do. Like you mentioned, Jordan knows how to speak 3 languages. I think everybody should know at least 2 because if you see how welcoming people are when you can communicate on
Yep.
the same level,
Yep.
it's crazy.
Yep.
It's crazy. Like they say how black people get the treatment black people get everywhere. I've never seen a black person treated badly that spoke the same language wherever he was at.
Yeah. It's true.
Those people, first of all, they're shocked. The novelty of it just draws them in,
Yep.
and
Why are you
they and
speaking
they
that
and they
language?
become instantly curious and want to know
Why
what's
are you even
going on
speaking
here.
language? Yep. Yep. It's true.
And it's never on a malicious level. It's
Yeah, it's true.
always
Genuine curiosity.
curiosity and like
Yep.
I want to know what's happening over here.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yep.
like it's just almost it goes down to what many of these.
Mm-hmm.
If you take anything away from the red pill guys,
Mm-hmm.
they all say this: build yourself up as much as possible. Be the best you can be.
That is true. Be the best version of you. Yeah. That's the one good thing I would say that's come from the industry, if you will. Yeah. You want to be the best version of you. And I'll wrap it up on this point. One of the other characters I really liked was Qual, the one who had the magic killing, the human killing spell, Zaltra. And specifically, he came in the show. This is when the hero party were doing their adventuring, and he had such a powerful spell that went past like all forms of defense and went straight to attack your very being. And it was such a powerful spell that they didn't know what to do with him, so they had to seal him. And they spent 80 years while he was sealed studying his skill, and they had to break it down, reverse engineer it, and then rebuild it again to also use against the demons. And I loved it because the you know what? I'm just gonna just read what someone said on YouTube. This guy by the name of someone, just on one of the comments, name of Kibatio. He was saying, imagine your magic is so perfect that literally 80 years later, it becomes the standard. Your magic was so perfect that magic battles for decades after you become after you became defined by it. So basically, like, he did this one thing 80 years ago, and now it's the standard. Now that's the standard magic spell. And I really love that theme of, once again, time. He's revolutionized something. He specialized in something. This kind of goes back on what Debo was saying in terms of learning skills, learning crafts, developing yourself. He became the standard for spells, to the point where if he was a good guy, if he wasn't a demon, because I don't know if you guys remember that scene where Frieren unsealed him, he saw how Frieren and Frieren were able to block his spell, Zaltrak, and then he was just like, wait, what's going on? How come you guys are able to block it? And she was saying, oh, we reverse engineered your skill. And then he looked at the spells that were used to block his spell, and he was like, oh, I see how the magic defense works 80 years later. This consumes a lot of energy, and he immediately knew how to counter it with it. So this is something that was developed for 80 years. He was able to once again reverse engineer it in a matter of seconds. And I love that. So it really speaks to the idea of just like what it means to what Debo was saying, being a Renaissance man, where no matter where you are or what era you're in, you're going to stand out. You're going to do something great. And whatever great thing you do can become the standard that people decide to move. Because he revolutionized magic. Now Zaltrak is like the standard magic spell. Everyone's like, oh, Fern was like, oh, is this a standard magic? Yeah, that wasn't the standard before. He upped the standard. And I love the idea of that, but just upping the standard. Going on what I said about arming yourself, raise the bar. I don't know if you guys want to have any closing thoughts on that, but I just love the idea of he set a new level. As much as human evolution was able to catch up to it, and that's the thing with human beings, it set the standard for human evolution inadvertently.
I'll end on this. There's a basketball player named Jalen Rose, and he opened a school, the Jalen Rose Leadership Academy in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually been running it for a number of years, and they have a very high graduation percentage. But he has a quote that I love, and it's, nobody gets paid what they're worth. You get paid what you can leverage.
That's a bar.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yep. That mindset.
It goes back to building yourself up to be the best version of yourself, because at that point you have all the leverage in the world.
As Jay-Z put it, branding yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember I saw this one viral video of this world-renowned, I think he was a violinist or something. He played the violin or something. This person sells out crowd by the numbers, but then they went to, I think it was New York subway station, like in New York, like the subway station in New York, and no one knew who he was, and he played there, and people were just giving him change or whatever. So it's so funny how if you just change your location, your value also change. But just speaking to your point, I do like, how do you say his name? Qual,
I think it's Qual or something like that.
Qual or something like that. Yeah, you're right. So he did create this spell, whatever. But I think given the fact that he's a demon, like many other demons, he resists change, right? And he clung into this outdated worldview. And when Frieren came along and evolved, Zaltra, yeah, his whatever, that symbolizes the new world.
And that's what Frieren said. She kept defending. What was the line? She was saying, because you brought up a really good point. Sorry for interjecting. She was saying 80 years is a long time for humankind.
Yeah, it is. You can look at it. It's funny, right? Because if you were to look at what happened in the 20th century, for example, after World War II, you look 30 years or 40 years before that, and then you look 40 years after that, it's a whole new world. And that's just 40 years. That's half of 80, right?
Yep.
But the thing with Qual is what he should have done if he was smart. But I think it was just the arrogance of power in this case, because he just thought that this spell, I created it will still be powerful.
Nothing is better. Exactly. He should assess the situation and realize after he fired the spell and she defended so easily, but before when I did it, when I shot this power,
Mhm.
it hurt this person. But now
Mhm.
it's not even leaving a scratch. I would have retreated, strategic retreat,
Mm.
and then found out exactly just how did they build this new thing. But the guy just, I don't know, he just stayed there and he just took it and then he,
I do like that aspect. I also like, so I think there's two aspects. So I think you're right about that, about retreating, which is what demons don't do because they're proud,
they're
right?
proud. Yeah.
They wouldn't retreat. But then there's the other aspect, which that's why I'm like, if he was like a force for good, that could have completely revolutionized everything because within a matter. And so there's a really good YouTube comment. Someone was saying, like, you'll look at people like 1,000 years ago and you'll think they're stupid. And it's like, no, they're not stupid. They just
Yes.
don't have the same resources as us. If you take those geniuses of different eras and you brought them today, they would excel just as much as they would have then because they have those resources. They have access to those resources. And as soon as Qual was able to just even look at defensive magic, he was able to discern a weakness right away. And I just love that. And I'm just like, and just as you said, was what you're saying, Jordan, if he was a force for good, if he didn't succumb to demon tendencies of being arrogant and prideful, he could completely just continuously revolutionize the world of magic and their form of technology in this world over and over again, just by always finding a new way to up the ante. And I just love the idea of that.
You know what it reminds me of, just speaking to your point, Eb? It reminds me of when people say back then in the NBA they played against plumbers and okay. So how about you? How about you were born back then in that generation? Let's see how you faced up. You know what I mean? It's just the
Yep.
tech just wasn't there. But you're right. If those same people, let's take for example, I don't know, they even made this argument that if Michael Jordan was now in our generation, he'll just be like an average player or something like that.
They said DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh my gosh, these guys are crazy. You have to understand the tech they had at the time, but you have to understand the rules weren't just really defined. You didn't have a lot of space in. You didn't even really understand playbooks like that.
Yep. It was much
Yeah,
more physical.
they didn't have to. They didn't watch videos to see exactly where you committed. That was straight all memory,
Yep.
right? Oh, did you see how that person just cut right there? That was memory. If you didn't remember that, oh, you're a goner. That's
You didn't have
it.
a TV. You're not watching replays. Now
I'll
you
do
can
you
watch
one
it on your
better.
phone.
Think of how brilliant a person would have to be to develop the Pythagorean theorem.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
I
that's the formula that we use today
Yep.
for equations and whatnot.
Yep.
Now, imagine, and we are brilliant for knowing how to use the Pythagorean theory.
The
Now,
level is right.
imagine how brilliant you have to be to even conceive it.
Yep.
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 So I think we have devolved in a lot of ways because of our modern conveniences.
And
And if
but
you were to
I
bring
think that
somebody
because of
back then here, they'd probably be smarter.
Yeah, because like it's who they are. Sorry, you're about to say something, Jordan?
I was gonna say, I feel like because we have just too much information, is why some people are just not as bright as we would like to think compared to history, people of the past.
I think
What
a
do they call
better
it? The
kind of
paradox of choice.
I think it's to consolidate what you guys are saying. I think there's just so much access to so much information that things are constantly being upped in terms of ante that
Yeah.
it's very hard to carve out your space. Like if like in terms of Frieren, if there was like 1,000 calls, it's very hard at that point to really revolutionize magic because maybe you'll have like maybe you might have revolutionized it for maybe 30 seconds, and then another call will come in and then develop another magic killing spell. And then he'll probably stay relevant for maybe a few more seconds. And I guess this even goes into like why it's harder to create content, right? Because there's so much things that like even for us, you have to find a niche. You can't just start a podcast. Like, okay, other people have started that. Like, even like how I keep telling people, like, oh, do you do reviews? I'm like, no, there's tons of other content creators that do reviews on anime. Like, why would anyone want to listen to us? But let's break down the theories and themes behind it. I would say it's a combination of those things. It's very hard because there is so many quals now, if you will. And because there's so many quals and doing so many things, it's much more harder to create your own quote unquote magic killing spell. That's my thoughts on it, at least.
Yeah, and I completely agree too.
Like, very hard. But yeah, no, I think this is a great episode. I hope you guys, I know what you guys felt about it. I enjoyed Frieren. I would say, in terms of like that slice of life, slow paced stuff, I would say I enjoyed Vinland Saga. What's the other one? Spy Family. And there's another anime I was trying to think of. But I enjoyed those more. But I still enjoyed Frieren for what it was and what it is. I would say with the tempo. Sometimes I did find the tempo slow, but I liked how the show stuck to it, and I do think it's deserving of Anime of the Year. I don't know what you guys think of. I don't know what you guys thought of the show.
I forgot it won Anime of the Year.
Bro, you forgot everything about the show.
Yeah. Yeah. Do I think it is? I'm not necessarily mad that they won it. Because it was, especially the last quarter of the anime, like when they're doing their trials, that shit got crazy.
With the doppelgangers and everything, that was crazy. Yeah. And I love how like the super final boss was just Frieren. Because you're like, no, that makes sense. Yeah. Because if it was anyone else, Frieren would win. So it's like, no, Frieren is the final boss. Frieren without emotions or brain. I love that. I was like, yeah.
I could definitely see the appeal for why they won Anime of the Year for 2024. Yeah, this year. So they have a unique narrative perspective, right? Most of these animes follows the hero journey, go slay the dragon. But what they say is, nope, this is after that journey.
Yep.
And you don't really see that.
I've never seen that before at all. If anything, maybe you'll get like a Boruto, like the sequel to After the Dragon or thing has been accomplished.
And look what happened with Boruto. People hated it, especially in the beginning. But with this one, I don't know how they do it, but they bring these themes of time and theme of time loss and just impactful relationship in a way that's exciting. They also bring like emotional depth into it and interesting character development. I've noticed. But one thing that really stood out to me is the high quality production. You cannot
walking down the street. I'm like, no.
You cannot deny. Is it Madhouse?
I'll check right now. Actually, I don't know who did the production. I'm going to check right now.
Okay, but yeah, double check. But the quality production is actually pretty good. I don't know.
Crazy good.
Yeah, it's really good. It's been also very consistent. Some anime.
Madhouse. I didn't even know Madhouse. I haven't seen Madhouse do a big anime
in a long time too.
Wow. Okay. Madhouse.
But what I like about it is from episode 1 all the way to the latest one, it's been consistent. Usually you notice probably midway or something like that, the quality just drops because for whatever reason. But with this one, it's been very consistent. Like I like the and you know me, Eb, you know how I am with quality. For me is a huge thing. High production quality.
If it's not Sakuga, get it out.
Do you remember? I remember when I was watching the Naruto season 2. Do you remember the first few episodes? The quality was terrible. They made Naruto have like a long head or something like that. Lacks definition.
Not Shippuden.
Huh?
Not Shippuden. The first, like when they're kids. Right?
Shippuden.
Oh, Shippuden was dog water.
Oh my god!
Oh my god! It was painful to watch. I remember we were just because you have to keep in mind like we watched Naruto when it came out, right? So we actually had to wait. I think it was 5 years or something like that. And I was just like, this is what, because we were also reading the manga because we couldn't wait anymore. So we're seeing it get animated and we're just like, what is this? Where's the budget? It was painful. It was painful.
Especially for its time, the first Naruto, of course, TV series, the quality, of course, it was all right. Of course, it was not like top-notch quality.
But they could kick it up when they wanted to.
Yeah, they could kick it up, exactly. But then going from that to Shippuden, especially the first few episodes, I think the quality definitely changed like midway or whatever.
It was rough.
But it was rough. Yeah, I was like, I don't know what I'm watching. But anyways, going back to Frieren, when I was watching this anime, the production, they maintained a high quality. It was very well done. So shout out to Madhouse.
Shout outs to Madhouse. Yeah, I didn't even know it was them. I knew it wasn't like Mappa because I didn't hear any employees like pass away during production. So I knew it wasn't them. I didn't know it was
terrible.
Am I wrong though? Have you guys seen the meme of Mappa Studio Eyes?
Yep. That is, I don't know. That is, if it's not slavery, I don't know what you can call that.
Indentured servitude. But I've said it before that this will go on unless we as an anime community speak up and actually boycott Mappa Productions. But because Mappa does highly anticipated anime, I don't see that happening anytime soon. But until that's the case, it's just going to be like champagne communists and what's it called? Marxists and Maseratis. In other words, hypocrites. People who say it's bad, but they don't do anything about it. We do content creation, so I have to watch those shows, but like I do think there needs to be a boycotting of like Mappa and just anime in general for them to change the way in which they do things. But until people are really willing to do that, we're just going to keep getting the same Mappa eyes, unfortunately. It's me. That's my diatribe for the day. For my last diatribe of the year, actually.
Yeah, and I just want to say something to the viewers before we do go. Happy holiday and happy New Year's.
Yeah, happy holiday, guys. Happy New Year's when you guys listen to this one. Not sure when you guys will, but you guys got both holidays. I know. Debo, I don't know if you want to wish anyone or wish people some happy holidays too.
Merry Festivus for the rest of us.
This guy is you're just different, bro. You're just different. I appreciate you for who you are, Debo. And I'm glad we actually met. I don't know if I know I say this all the time, but I'm genuinely glad that we met.
Ditto.
Damn. Appreciate that, bro. All right, guys. Enjoy the episode. Feel free to get your feedback. Give us a review on the platforms that you're on. I've seen how like people are giving us some reviews on Spotify. Give the reviews if you guys are enjoying the content. And we have some stuff coming up when it comes to Black Panther, My Hero Academy, and I'm going to be having 2 different guests coming on for One Piece because it's a daunting task to catch up on all of One Piece. There's some masculine themes I think that can be definitely covered in Oda's. What's the term? There's a Latin term for like your life's work. Do you know what it is, Jordan? I forgot what it is.
For which word?
I feel like there's a Latin word for like your greatest production. I forgot what it's called.
Opus.
There we go. Your Oda's magnum opus. Debo, man, I appreciate you. Your Oda's magnum opus, which is One Piece. So yeah, you guys can look forward to that heading into New Year, and happy holidays, guys. We're out.
Deuces.
Peace.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and a review. To catch the latest news, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Black Nerd Talks. And if you enjoyed our latest episode, consider subscribing to the podcast. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.